Please welcome
the Simone Feiler podcast. Subscribe to the channel.
A warm welcome to everyone in the audience.
Like and share the videos to help indie authors get their story out to the people who need to hear them. And welcome to the Simone Feiler podcast.
Welcome.
Giving authors a platform.
Hello there, Simone Feiler. So excited to be chatting with Dr. Tom Lonsdale again, author of Work Wonders, Raw Meaty Bones, the multi-billion-dollar pet food fraud, and the very soon-to-be released Spin Doctors. It's been a while, Tom. I'm so happy to have a chat with you on the podcast today. How are you doing?
No, I'm doing really well, and thank you for that introduction. You reeled that off like a true professional that you are, of course.
Of course.
Radio announcer from way back. And so here we are.
I give it I like to give it a moment and recollect my past and be the radio announcer. But yes, here we are. You've done a lot since we last chatted.
Oh, yeah. I kept drawing breath. I mean, that's always pleasing. Yeah, lot of things have transpired in this time. Spin Doctors, of course, has reached, it was not finalized last time we spoke. It now is, and that's important. We can probably get back to that. Plenty happening in my personal life. Oh, I've rented out my house. So for 2 years, I have no house. I've got instead a Land Rover and a caravan. And the plan is to travel around Australia and or spend time over in the UK with Mona, my partner of the past 10 years. So that's
exciting.
That's me.
Exciting. Have you been around Australia before?
No. Well, yeah, I've covered fair chunks of it. But, in percentage terms, that probably amounts to about 0.5%. I've been up and down the West Coast. Yeah. But I do want to come up to Queensland. So that's part of the plan. Earlier we were speaking about me going back down to Glenrowan, the Ned Kelly town.
How was
and I'll
that?
do that.
You were saying just off air that you love the place and it's, very inspiring and you can feel that heritage there.
That's right. It's iconic. It's a large part of the folklore of Australia. The cultural icon, if you like, is the giant Ned Kelly statue in the middle of, and I'll call it town. It's more like a hamlet. It's a strip of shops and coffee shops, restaurants, and a reenactment place where they fire off pop guns and pretend that it's all happening all over again. But Ned Kelly and his gang ambushed the police actually it was the other way around. I think they tried to ambush the police. They stopped the train and big gunfight back then.
Weren't they in the house or something?
1880, they were in a house and someone came stumbling out and he was wearing armor. I mean, they were full-on criminals, this gang. And a few more policemen got shot. Some of the gang got shot. Ned Kelly was arrested and taken off to Pentridge and then subsequently hanged. And famously, he's alleged to have said the last words before he was hanged, "Such is life," which is really ironic. But of course, it has a ring of truth. Of course, and So that anyway, this place, redolent with history. There's 3 wineries associated with it. It's a narrow strip right on the railway line. And that railway line is the main line between the 2 big cities in Australia, Melbourne and Sydney. So it carries passenger transport and big freight trains. And it sort of reminds you of the power and the history, again, of Australia. Because bearing in mind that, 200 years ago, there was nothing. And now there's this amazing steel railroad with massive trains on it on the one side. Little town in the middle,
Yeah.
and then the other side is Hume Highway. But it's the arterial road between these two big cities. So that just throbs and pulses 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the little town in the middle is close to a place called Wangaratta, about 10 or 12 kilometers away, maybe more, 15. Anyway, the road to get to Wangaratta, you hop on this freeway. So
Right.
ordinarily, if you live in a village, you go down village roads
That's
to
right.
get to the nearest town, but not in this instance.
It's like a slip
You
road
just-
from the little town.
Yeah. And then you hop on and you're 110 kilometers. Zoom.
That's like almost outback
yeah.
with the city right there, with all of that, road and rail.
Yes. And sort of more than the city, because of course they've got rest stops on both sides of the Hume, and the petrol station and McDonald's on both sides. And so it's a regular stop. Vast tarmac area for massive road trains, and all the sophisticated elite from Melbourne and Sydney stop off in there as well. So you see an incredible slice of life in these rest stops.
That sounds amazing.
So you've got so many just cultural elements and modern lifestyle, but also reminiscent of the history, all melded into one. And it's so there you are. So people watching this, stop off in Glenrowan. Now of course I'm up in Blythe Park, which is a suburb of Sydney, and talking with you.
Yeah, in your own old stomping ground, really, aren't you? Because you're outside your vet.
Yeah, where I used to practice, and of course the tenants allow me to park out the back, which is very kind of them. And so it's good to be back in familiar surroundings. I like it. And the kangaroos are terrific.
Yeah, it's quite a contrast, really. So you've gone from a country town with all the freeways and the rail around you, then to the back of your old practice with kangaroos jumping in.
Yes. So this is all the potential that's here in Australia. For anyone seeing this who's overseas, well, you're missing out. You've got to come here and find out what it's like. It's terrific.
I concur, and that's just Sydney and Melbourne. Wait till you come up to Brisbane.
Oh, okay.
God's
right.
country.
Maybe
biased,
beautiful
maybe
one
biased.
day, perfect. Yeah.
That's it. So hopefully you'll come up and do your audiobook with me if time permits, because you've got a release date for Spin Doctors, your new book, coming up on April 11.
That's right, and it'll come out in ebook and paperback form. The audiobook will probably take a lot of recording, because it'll probably go to 12 hours of recorded time published. But the way I cough and splutter and need to take breaks, it'll be another 24 hours in the studio.
6 years.
Yeah,
not true. I'll crack the whip out if you work with me here personally. I won't.
My masochistic tendencies might come out, and I might enjoy that. You be careful.
Look out. Okay, well, that deteriorated. Now, Spin Doctors, basically, so you've been writing newsletters, swiftly changing the topic. So you've been writing, or you did write many newsletters back in the day when you first, well, not when you first, you've been obviously working on this project for a long time about feeding dogs the natural raw meaty bones, other than all this other malarkey. But that's the foundation of the Spin Doctors book, isn't it? The newsletters.
Well, that's right. 2001, Raw Meaty Bones was published, which was 10 years after we blew the whistle in 1991. So there was a 10-year period, and then I was under a lot of pressure. The vet board and acting on the behalf of Mars Corporation were trying to rub me out. So I retired from practice and wrote Raw Meaty Bones. and in 1997, published it in 2001, and then started writing newsletters because I'd written the book and I could have energy and time and write newsletters. And I did that for 10 years until the particular publishing platform, whatever it was, disappeared. And also I was in financial straits and had to go back into practice. So for 10 years, yes, 4 or 5 newsletters a year. And it's just interesting to go back to that period. So instead of leaving the newsletters in some dusty archive, we've dragged them out, reformatted them, put some illustrations, photographs, cartoons, with a beginning and an end. So I editorialize for a few pages at the beginning and again at the end, and say, people, here's the history, this history of what was happening on the ground at the time. And because there was no anticipation of turning it into a book, it's entirely authentic. It's exactly as was happening at that time, a living history. And it's just interesting how the opposition forces gathered and succeeded in either purloining the information and using it for their own benefit, the BAFAs, the prey modelers, the raw people, RAW, righteous and wrong. They obsess about things being raw. No, wait a minute, that's only part of the story. So it's just interesting how that all came about over that 10-year period. So we started off strongly in 2001 and then had to fight a rearguard action for 10 years, effectively being defeated by the forces of the junk pet food companies, the organized veterinary profession, and then the alternative feeding groups.
A lot of these people you knew, didn't you, that you were kind of in the same sort of spheres or circles as these people?
Yes. Well, they approached me just like confidence tricksters would approach you at the railway station or in the street, and just say, oh, hello, how are you doing today, and isn't it a nice day, and where are you going, and da 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 da. It's the same psychology, and so they did that, and I was drawn in, and I suffered the illusion that they were on the same page and wanting to advance the interests of pets and the people and the planet. Not so. They were after their own interests.
They were lining their pockets.
So or gaining on an ego trip or whatever it was that floated their boat, to mix a few metaphors. And
I want to clarify because I've obviously worked with you for all of these, with first 3 books, and these BAFAs are the people that say feed your dog the healthy food and great carrots and broccoli and the rest of it in with some rice and some meat, but while that's reasonably nutritious and humans could eat it, it's not good for dogs because it doesn't clean their teeth and address the fundamental problem of dog health, right?
That's right. So they disregard that fundamental. That's the main thing. We know that. There's a saying, give a dog a bone, or like a dog on a bone. This is the obsession of dogs anyway, to rip and tear and chew, and that's what they crave to do. So just to obscure that, and that's just from the psychological point of view, but never mind about the teeth cleaning and telling the stomach things are on the way down and all of that. So that's neatly shoved to one side, obscured, and then people are lured into the belief that the ingredients in their particular brand name concoctions are suitable. But increasingly, there's information that they're not. I saw a very good paper the other day that listed a whole host of ways that the ingredients, once you start to mush them up. And that brings me to the point where, for instance, there's a paper from way back done at the University of California, Davis, by a bloke called Nick Cave and others. And they tried feeding cats on whole rabbits, and all the cats developed taurine deficiency. And I thought, well, how in the hell did they achieve that? Feeding the proper diet and stuffing up the taurine.
Well, I don't know what taurine is.
This paper I read the other day, taurine, it's a conjugated amino acid that affects the hearts of pussycats, and I think they give birth to premature babies and so on.
Okay.
They achieved this, and apparently just mincing the rabbit affects the availability of taurine, which otherwise taurine is perfectly well available in the natural form of this. But then, so bringing it down to this one single ingredient, they stuffed it up, feeding the natural food. So these researchers in California concluded that feeding rabbits to cats was harmful.
Right. Wow.
Extraordinary. What's harmful about it?
Yeah, is that they're now minced down and not actually whole rabbits where they can rip and tear.
Yeah. So that ripping and tearing has many different elements and factors that feed into the health of the animal. And so ignoring all of that is just wanton and woeful and terrible, especially for people who claim to have been enlightened, who claim to have seen the reality. Well, they may have seen it and then they obscured it. And whether they can sleep well at night or not, I don't know, but they shouldn't.
Do you think
they should have a bed of nails.
Yeah.
What?
Say what you think.
Yeah.
But going back, because obviously you were the one. I remember growing up in the 80s when hearing the news that raw meaty bones are bad for dogs. Bones are bad for dogs because if you feed them, they'll get vicious because they're eating, raw bones. And I remember that being a thing, and that's probably when they all started, their campaign to feed to the multi-billion-dollar pet food fraud, let's just say. But obviously you discovered this, you knew it all along, and you're just trying to enlighten people. And then these people that have come along and talked to you and then seen an avenue to make money of the natural food that isn't good for the dogs because they're not, or the pets, not eating raw meaty bones, ripping and tearing. But that was like you said, in the early 2000s. We're in 2026 now. The people that are making it now, because you still see people making the natural food, and not promoting the raw meaty bones. Do you think they're aware that they are doing the wrong thing? Do you think they've got enough knowledge about it, or?
Many instances, not. No, because the original con artists started back in the 1990s. And then they've got legions of followers, and the followers have followers, and so they all reassure each other that they're on the right track because it's raw. So that's where I come up with the righteous and wrong. They're incredibly righteous, they're incredibly up themselves, think that they're the God's gift to the world. And so there, but yes, there are those, of course, who write books, especially, and run podcasts and so on, that make it their business to know what else is out there. So yeah, my what was a trilogy and now is a tetralogy of 4 books is well known to those people, with all the evidence, but they conveniently obscure all of that and write their own books and air their own podcasts. And of course, they tend to be very adept at the modern technology, video technology and sound recording and all that stuff. They often have big publishers behind them. So there's one character, I'll name him, Rodney Habib. And I think he's with Karen Becker, who's some sort of vet as well. They've got a book with 120 recipes. One recipe is sinful. Yeah. One recipe is harmful. Then multiply that by 120.
I'm gobsmacked.
And that is shocking.
Like, just give your
And
dog a bone.
yeah, but a raw meaty bone,
Yeah, of
please.
course. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's add that aspect to it. Yeah. So look, it's very, 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 very bad. Whether these people can be prosecuted, well, I suspect they can be. But you'd need to engage high-priced lawyers, and therefore people are not likely to do that.
Mm.
But just in terms of just feeding raw meaty bones, it was really edifying the other day because I was out repairing the car park, and then clients stopped by to say hello. One lady shouted out of her car, "Oh, you remember Rocky?" And there is Rocky, this boxer with his head out the window. Yes, I remember Rocky.
Oh.
Rocky dived through a plate glass window and nearly cut his leg off, and it was extraordinary. And all the tendons went, and the flesh went, and the nerves went, so he didn't feel his toes, so he started to eat them. And on and on and on.
Bone. Sorry.
Exactly. On and on and on and on and on. Anyway, here was this dog, and he gleamed like a wet seal. I mean, he was just so shining. By now, he's about 10 or 12 years of age, and he's in the peak of condition. And I don't think she feeds much other than chicken frames, cheap and easy and convenient, and away you go.
Mm.
Another gentleman stopped by as well to have a chat and said, yeah, he was there to collect his raw meaty bones. And similarly, he mentioned, I mean, I didn't recognize him, he recognized me. He said, "Oh yeah, the first time we came to see you, we had this puppy, and we didn't think he was going to live. He was horribly ill. And so you said, can you feed it rabbit poo?" And he said, "Well, yeah, actually we can, because we keep rabbits." That'll be convenient then. So off you go, take your pup home and shove balls of rabbit poo down its gob and make sure it swallows them. And lo and behold, of course, it came back to life. It restored its gut health, because prior to that, it just got the horrible, horrendous diarrhea and was wasting away.
Wow.
And went from strength to strength. And that was many years ago. So he was back here collecting his chicken frames for his new dogs that he's got. And then somebody else came down from the mountains, and he said, "Are you Tom Lonsdale?" And I said, "Well, it depends who's asking."
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, I'm me, and I've seen you previously on podcasts and realized that this was the answer. I've been searching for it for all these years. I discovered this only 6 months ago." I said, "Yeah, well, actually, we've known this story from 1991 when we put it out, and it's a shame you've only just now learned." He said, "Yeah, but now we're onto it, and we come here to the raw meaty bone shop that May is now running." So there you are. So 3 little anecdotes there that happened in the space of a few hours when I was out there in the car park.
Isn't that wonderful? You've done such amazing work. I mean, I know that you work tirelessly, and you've written all these books, and you are banging doors down constantly to let the general public understand what's going on and how these people are, hiding behind whatever they're hiding behind and keeping you at bay to some degree. But you are helping people with their pets. That's a testament for those people to come up and say, you've helped us.
Well, it was really quite uplifting, I must say. Very satisfying. We had great chats. It was great fellowship to meet these folks that we've known. Effectively, we've known each other 10 or 15 years, and very much they're advocates, they're enthusiasts, and as a result of their experience, which is really uplifting. And here's another one that just arrived this morning for you. So I'm standing for the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons elections again in the UK. It's the governing body of the vets over there, and there's about 30-odd thousand vets registered with them. And the College Council has 3 vacancies this year, and I think, is it 13 or 15 candidates for those vacancies? Well, this is the 27th year that I've stood.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did 25 consecutive years and then took a break for 2 or 3 years, and now I'm back. So in total, this is going to be 27 years of standing, always coming last, always being ridiculed by the majority of vets, getting sometimes between 5 and 10% of the vote, people who are prepared to vote and endorse that, yes, we should be doing the right and honest thing for the pets and the people and the planet. And always coming last. Well, I got not exactly a fan letter today, but it was a letter from an old vet, and he qualified in 1965. So he'd be 7 years older than me. So that would make him 83, I think, something like that. And he's writing to me for the first time from Scotland. And he said, hello, I could put it up on the screen if we spent time and tried to find it. But he said, hello, I'm just writing to let you know that I'm voting for you again. I always have. You'll lose again. But I just so remember, and I think he said that his dad had been a vet before.
You'll have to email me the letter, and I'll put it up so people can read it maybe on the podcast if you're happy to do that.
Yeah, I am. I will have to take his name off.
Yeah.
Without his consent, we can't publish it.
Exactly.
Publish that. But
what were you saying about his dad?
I think he said his dad. I only rough read it. It was only. I'm going to go back to it later today and reply. But basically, the family were feeding at that time strips of meat. He doesn't mention the bones, and it's interesting. You don't actually have to consume a lot of bone, contrary to the belief of people. And he said that they used to feed cow udders, and that's a great idea. So the milking cows, ultimately, at the end of their days, they go to the abattoir. So, and I hadn't thought of that as being a suitable source of food for dogs in particular, and absolutely first rate.
Would that have sinew, like the sinew that the dogs would drag off that, or?
Oh, yeah, just that whole action of ripping, tearing, and whatever. And so long as they eat some bone once or twice a week, that's okay. We made a big thing about raw meaty bones in the early days, especially to encourage this idea of ripping and tearing and chewing and the consumption of some bone. Now, if animals are eating chickens or rabbits or quail or fish, then they're going to eat all the bone. But once you get the bones that are bigger, all they got to do is rip and tear the meat off the bone. Just like the wolves, they don't eat the long bones. They don't eat the head, the spine. They eat the ribs, but that's about it. They eat the hooves, of the bigger animals.
What about chicken? I've got a new dog. Have I even told you that I've got a new dog?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, well, yeah, my kids thought it'd be a great idea if we got a new dog. I had Pomeranians and they both died. They lived till a long age, but I think that because I fed them chicken necks a lot of the time, and never right at the end I might have fed them something because they couldn't eat, but they lived to 20 and 17, and they love their chicken
necks. That's okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so my kids decided I need a new dog, and which I was thinking, I record audiobooks. I don't know how we're going to do that, but he's lovely, Martin. I'll flash him up for everyone to see. Sheepadoodle. He is a cross between a sheepdog and a poodle. He's really cute, but I've been feeding him raw meaty bones. I'm so glad that I met you, and that's all I'm feeding him. And when we first got him, we got him from the animal rescue place because he's a a rescue dog, and in his ears were really black, and he just looked really filthy and not. They did groom. Well, they didn't groom him, but they washed him. He was well cared for, obviously, at the animal management centre, but maybe not beforehand. But since I've been feeding him the raw meaty bones, like that black stuff inside of his ears is gone. And
The skin health improves. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because everything inside improves. If the heart, the lungs, the kidneys, the guts all improve, and the circulatory system, and then the skin improves, and the hair follicles improve, and everything about it. And then that protective coating of antibodies and grease that forms is healthy, and is not food for bacteria. It contains the antibodies. It's just healthy. So that's hence healthy skin, healthy hair, healthy outlook. It's good.
Yeah, healthy and happy. So yeah, your work is invaluable, and I'm really glad that that I've got the opportunity to work directly with you. I'm very lucky. And obviously, I know firsthand how good your books are because I've obviously read them all. They're all insightful, and also you've got. Well, you don't have recipes, but you say which animals should be and how you should look after the animals you feed your dogs and cats and ferrets. But multi-billion-dollar pet food fraud is, I couldn't get enough of that book and just see it's so insightful. And the title of the book says it all, really. Multi-billion-dollar pet food fraud, hiding in plain sight. So your work is tireless, and I'm going to thank you on behalf of all the pets and myself and animals that you're helping and anybody that hears your work, because it's very important work for the longevity of animals.
Well, thanks. Look, I'm the messenger. I picked up on the message early. I thought, this is important, and set about trying to communicate it, and then came up with a whole lot of resistance. So I didn't plan to become an author of books, not at all. I didn't plan to become a campaigner, but just fell into it, felt compelled to. So it's all a subconscious thing. And then, so I have done more research and delved into the thing, and done clinical research as well, conducted experiments and so on, gathered this information, assembled it in books and audio books, and made it available. I was going to say something. Oh, yes. And now, that's all human endeavor, assisted by you and editors and typesetters and critics and so on. And we've done all of that. But these days, we've got the artificial intelligence, which is there to help. So, more recently, a friend said to me, there's this amazing program called Google Notebook LM. So it's a free software from Google.
Yeah.
And you can just drop in your book into it and say, what do you think of this? And it will come up with all sorts of critique and mind maps and educational programs and all the things that you can do with this particular book.
Wow.
And make a video and make an interactive discussion.
Wow.
It's extraordinary. So you've got this male and female American voices, but they're really, really lifelike, with all the relevant pauses and the aside quips and comments, and it's as if they are two good friends having a chat. And we've done that for each of the 4 books. So I encourage people to go to www.thepetfoodcon.com, find books in the top line menu, and then it's a drop down menu, and you can go and click on each one and then listen to these Americans chatting away with so much intensity and evident, or sounds like evident, enjoyment. But it's so on topic and so precise. So
I agree. They've kind of condensed it into a solid outlook overview of each book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so people are time poor. Go and listen. Go and have a listen.
They're quick as well, aren't they? Like 10-minute grabs, 5-10-minute grabs.
Yeah, the videos are about that long, about 10 minutes. The interactive chat goes to about 19 minutes. So that, but, you know, they sustain the chat for that length of time, no trouble. Have a listen. I would encourage people to do that. And, yeah, see what they make of it.
And what about your web? You've got your obviously your website, thepetfoodcon.com, but your YouTube channel, are you doing anything on that momentarily, or there's a lot to see on? There is a lot to see on there.
There's a lot on there. And I don't maintain it very well, and I don't actually know how to change my channels in there. I need to have somebody like you who help me just organize the files. But there was one the other day. It was the Holistic Dog Nutrition Conference run by a vet called Jeff Grognick out of British Columbia. He's a Canadian, and he runs conferences and the like. And I was one of 22 speakers, and he interviewed me. Excuse me. And it came out well. I was surprised. I thought that I'd perhaps come over a bit terse and argumentative, but I found that I had a listen, and I didn't.
You definitely are not like
me.
that. No.
Anyway, so that's newly up there. I just clicked some various links, and it found itself there. And then a couple of people came back to me and said, "Oh, we enjoyed your interview." And I said, oh, it's on there, is it? Because I'm really a dum-dum when it comes to all this very IT stuff. I need a lot of help.
Sure. This is the band that's using AI. But yeah, well, I get what you mean. I get what you mean. It can be tricky.
Oh, well, I slotted the books into the AI programs, and then I went to Bill, my trusty IT helper, who's been helping me since year 2000. He's amazing, and he helps me day and night. Whenever I reach out to him, he helps me. So, and also I've got an agent in London years ago. Well, when we were launching Pet Food Fraud, I engaged an agency over there, and they've stuck with me throughout this period. And
I'm not surprised, Tom.
They helped too.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
You've literally got such an important message, you know, and a very simple, clean, down to earth, obvious message that as soon as I heard it, it's like you can't deny it, you know, and then you see it in practice, like with me, with Martin, and I'm sure those other people that you're working with can just, you know, truth when you see it.
Well, now then, okay, let me get on the soapbox and say that it is incredibly important, and it all derives from nature. Nature is the incredible teacher. But unfortunately, we've allowed the so-called scientists, and of course the publicists and the marketers and so on, to get in the way. But the scientists are, in large part, a big part of the problem, because their methodology has not been very scientific. But nonetheless, they've used these defective tools. We can all use defective tools, but they've asserted that they are sacrosanct and can't be bettered and got to be followed. So I've identified what I think are three paradigms that the scientists use. The reductionist paradigm, where they reduce everything down to a couple of variables and see how they compare one with the other. Well, wait a minute. There's a lot of variables out there, like zillions of variables, and you try and just reduce them down to two that you're going to look at. Well, you're going to overlook so much, and you're going to get yourself in trouble if you're not careful. And then you've got the germ theory, where from Pasteur and Lister and on since, people have been obsessed with germs. I think germs are at the root of all evil, where in fact they're not. They're a large part of what's going on here. And then the other thing is that they get hooked up on the treatment paradigm. So they want to treat as opposed to prevent. Well, nature wants to prevent. that, all the different systems out there are preventing falling prey to something else, or they're protecting against one thing or another thing. The grasses are trying to protect themselves against getting eaten. On the other hand, they're perhaps using their seeds to be dispersed through getting eaten, and so on. So all these convoluted feedback systems. But the so-called scientists are only going to focus on treatment, which they can then monetize because they can make money, because they can
exactly,
and so on.
We'll sell it to you.
Treatment, yeah. You got germs, and you got reductionism. So that's why the so-called scientific knowledge keeps changing, because they use defective systems. They completely ally themselves with their outcomes. They go to their death proclaiming the veracity of their so-called scientific discoveries, which are only then later found to be completely hopeless and wrong. Well, had they been upfront honest in the first place and said, look, these are defective, it's the best we can do, and we were assembling this information for the benefit. Well, in 1992, Christmas 1992, in that house there, in that clinic over there,
lift it up.
Crept out.
We didn't see it. You have to show. Open up your screen a little bit. I'm lifting my head higher. Yeah, there we go. That's it.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Yes. Woo!
Okay, that's the back view. Back view. Okay, that's the back of the clinic. But I used to live in there in 1992, and I crept out on Christmas morning and wrote down what had come to me in this dream about the cybernetic hypothesis of periodontal disease and how everything linked together. And this is a self-regulating system within a system that says how everything is linked together for prevention, but it acknowledges death as being a very important part of the overall working. So death becomes as important as life. But at what point death supervenes is modulated according to all these moving parts.
Whoa.
And yeah, and so it includes bacteria and viruses and microbes more generally, but assigns them an important role. They were here first, after all. They're still the same, pretty much the same as they were 4 billion years ago. So, we think we're a bit clever and special and have evolved. Well, we've changed, but maybe the ones that stayed the same 4 billion years.
Know a thing or two.
Know a thing or two, right. So it includes them. And
that's amazing.
So it allocates germs a particular slot in the workings, but it doesn't make them primacy. There's no reductionism about this. It's in fact multi-component. It's certainly not linear cause and effect. It's feedback loops, positive and negative, working together. And it's not about treatment. It's all these things and how prevention fits in to the model. So prevention becomes more of a focus in this model, as opposed to things going wrong and then trying to come in and fix. No, it's how things work together to prevent bad outcomes. And that is the cybernetic hypothesis of periodontal disease that occurred to me at that time through a dream, and I wrote it down.
Wow.
And that's
You're blessed. You're blessed. You're literally blessed, yeah. Yeah.
That's really, really, really important.
Yeah.
So mostly we talk about the importance of the dog's bowl and how, or actually throw the bowl away and just
chuck
the food on the lawn. But beyond that, there's a bigger story. There's a bigger story about creation and how we fit in it, and how carnivores were, prior to us picking up the club, were the supreme regulators. But you have to have regulators that are regulated, because if your regulators run amok, then nothing balances. So you have to somehow or other make sure that wolves don't just breed up so that you go from a pack of 10 to a pack of 100 to 1,000 and kill everything. No, you have to keep losing the defective ones off the end all the time. And the same applies for humans too. So these mechanisms are the same. And that, to my mind, is very important. And I can say that two eminent scientists agreed with me until they died. And that's the unfortunate thing. That the people who understand some of the significance of all this are passing away. And that's a terrible thing, because so the knowledge is being lost.
Well, I'm glad that we're having this conversation, which can be up for, for the youth that come through to maybe do further investigation, and, if anyone's watching this, to reach out to you if you want to discuss it more, if this is your bag and you think you can help Dr. Tom Lonsdale. Just saying.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Well, let's pull together. Let's have fun, because it's really enlightening and uplifting, or what it has been for me. And I don't want to become all religious in the moment, but it's really quite spiritual as well. And yes, it's extraordinary what nature has brought about. And we need to pay attention.
Yes, we do. So true. What a great chat.
Yeah.
I love chatting with you. You're awesome. Doing such wonderful work, and always incredibly enlightening, learn something new. And, I think the more we talk, the more I kind of get my head around what you talked about, how that came to you in a dream. At first it was like, what? And now I'm starting to get the picture, but it is really important work you're doing. And ultimately for everybody's cat, dog or ferret, that I've fallen in love with Martin, I want him to be here as long as possible. And if you can help us achieve that with raw meaty bones, which is so much easier than everything else that's available out there, then, I'm already saying thank you, because I know he's going to live a long life, and everyone with a pet will feel the same, no doubt.
Yes. Yeah. If they overcome their fears, that's a great bugbear, unfortunately, for too many people. They're fearful of what might become of their pet. They fear that the bones might get stuck or break teeth or turn the dog into a savage beast, and it'll do just the opposite. It'll calm down and feel contented. But and they're on their own. You see, they don't have vets at their elbow who can act as mentor and confidant to help them in the transition and the maintenance, and so they have to do it on their own. And a lot of people just prefer the devil they know, and that's a great shame.
They should try it. I can see where you're coming from. People get stuck in their ways. They get, you've got to be diplomatic how you say it, but they're watching things on social media, watching things on TV and whatever, and think that that's the right way. But, if your dog is consistently unhealthy and going to the vet, it's worth trying something new, and not so new, because, wolves have been doing it for eons and eons and eons, and our dogs are derived from wolves. And maybe try raw meaty bones instead of sticking to the norm and just continually going to the vet, the wrong vet. You should go and see Dr. Tom Lonsdale instead. Although you're not practicing now.
No, I'm very old.
You are not. You keep saying
there comes
that,
a day
it's not
when
true. But you've got someone who's taken over, or who has, worked under you, running your old practice now.
That's right. That's it. Dr. May Yam. And, she's a great acolyte. And she's doing good things in her own right. I mean, she's got a female eye for things, and
that's already a win.
Working ethic. Yes, no doubt. She's got an empathy, and a willingness to keep willing her clients on to ensure their animals are healthy. So she's rebranded her clinic. It used to be Blythe Park Pet Health Centre. It's now Rawsome Vets. Play on awesome. So
that is amazing.
Okay.
I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so
that should be a franchise. Anybody is a vet that wants to do that, Rawsome, you'll have to talk to Dr. May Yam or Dr. Tom
That's
Lonsdale.
it. Well, they Google her and go from there.
Spin doctors. So part of your tetralogy, I didn't even know that was a thing. Is that right? Tetralogy?
Yeah, it is. I don't know if people can see the poster on the
We can see it. That's
pinned
good.
in the back there. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, awesome.
Right, and it's got a Venn diagram on the front there talking about white collar corporate and organized crime, and that's what's going on. So we need to expose that. This stuff's not just about a mere difference of opinion or a different interpretation of nature's teachings. This is criminal stuff. This is the same as bitey gangs and mafia and major corporate criminals. That's what we're dealing with. People knowingly doing the wrong
Epstein
thing.
files. We won't get into
Yes,
it.
well, all of that. But the pet food was going on long before Epstein, long before Trump. They were doing their nefarious stuff for eons beforehand. They've perfected their criminal conduct. They wrote the book, but they kept it to themselves. We've got to go and find what they're. Yeah, so in Spin Doctors, you will see all about them. The junk pet food partners in crime is the subtitle. Yes.
Dr. Tom Lonsdale, thank you for your time today. It's always a pleasure chatting, and we're looking forward to catching up again after Spin Doctors maybe comes out. Hopefully we can work on the audiobook at some point, but you're doing incredibly invaluable work, and thank you, sir, for being part of the Simone Feiler podcast today.
Oh, you're a pal, and thanks for facilitating so much. Well done. Thank you, Simone. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Simone Feiler podcast.
Thanks so much.
Subscribe to the channel, giving authors a platform.
Thank you very much.
And make your audiobook dream a reality with Simone Feiler, the audiobook queen. Find out more at audiobookaustralia.com.
Well, thanking you kindly.